Innovation Center, which KC SourceLink is a part of our Innovation Center. And KC SourceLink in conjunction with the wonderful entrepreneurial community here in Kansas City puts on GEW. This is our 16th annual GEW. So welcome. Your guest today is going to talk to us about leading into digital opportunities, which sounds very interesting. And well, a couple of housekeeping here. Could you please check into the class on the app so that register your attendance? And if you haven't already heard about it, there's a free lunch, but you do need to pick up a ticket. And that is at the KC SourceLink desk, which is right at the top of the stairs.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So, I'm Rick Usher. I just understand, I guess, share. I have been an entrepreneur for 2 years, so in the city for 37, bureaucrat. Then when I retired from the city, I just started this venture, and I call it the Usher Garage. It's a tribute to my great grandfather, and all the fun entrepreneur stuff starts in drivers anyway. So this program, LIDO, Leading into Digital Opportunities, a partnership with PCs for People, Where Consultants at Larissa, Uredi, and Crabb here, who are CEO and CTO. And then Tom Nelson and PCs for People will be joining us maybe here before the hour is up. We applied for, received a grant through the Kaufman Foundation, Heartland Challenge, and it's a 2-year program. We're helping entrepreneurs receive internet services, computers, other technologies, and entrepreneur support, and making sure that folks have a meaningful connection and connectivity with our vibrant entrepreneur community we have in Kansas City. So that we have with us Thelma Clardy. What's the name of your business?
So I go by Thelma Hair Management. I specialize in lace wigs and custom wigs for women who suffer from hair loss, alopecia, cancer. And so I wanted to cater to that demographic of women that didn't feel that they were comfortable enough to go into the salon and get a service. And maybe they wanted a more private space. And so I have a studio that I run, and when people come to me and have a private experience versus, being around several other women salons that don't feel comfortable with that setting.
Then we have Pauline Johnson with ScholarSmartsKC.
Yes, I'm Pauline Johnson, and I'm just very happy to be here. I have a business that focuses on bridging gaps of resources for the youth in terms of college access and employment opportunities. So I try to identify where some gaps are, where young people are missing out. So I'm pretty much a support to the supports that are out there that just really can't, get anything done. So I appreciate PCs for People, promoting my business.
And we have D'Mitri Farthing. Why don't you tell us your new title here? Your current working title with the state of certified.
It's a little long, very much open to where you got. Morning, everyone. My name is D'Mitri Farthing. I am the Digital and Economic Opportunity Specialist at the Missouri Department of Economic Development. More specifically, I work in the Office of Broadband Development. I oversee the state's digital equity and digital inclusion needs. And most specifically, I help to ensure that all Missourians can get connected and become fully engaged participants within the digital economy.
I'm Aaron, Nowhere Consultants, CTO of Nowhere Consultants. I'm the least interested person in the room, here to answer the technical.
And my name is Larissa, Uredi, CTO of Where Consultants. Yeah, we're the technical partner for LIDO, and have been working really closely with people and Rick on
on really kind of making this, you know, a tool we can get to market quickly to help assess kind of where entrepreneurs, or people who maybe don't know that they're entrepreneurs, I think is more important, right? Where they're at as far as digital access, where they are in their mindset, their business and that kind of stuff, so that we can say, hey, like, here's sort of the first steps that you can take towards getting into this ecosystem, because we certainly have a depth of resources in Kansas City that are still yet somehow hard to access. And I think that that's what we're really trying to work in unison with other folks to work together on.
I have a few slides, but mainly I want to have a conversation panelist with a few folks in the audience about the program. Just some of more information about the work we've been doing, trying to identify really the audience we're trying to serve, the entrepreneurs we're trying to serve. We use the phrase entrepreneurs, but we found a bunch of terminology that people sometimes identify with a bit more. Although this first one, I was really excited to find in a report the Kauffman Foundation did on who doesn't start a business in America. And it's this phrase of pre-entrepreneurship leaders. And we're really interested in these folks because they're, you know, I mean, everybody probably knows somebody in this category that they've been talking about a business idea, maybe just because they woke up this morning thinking this would be cool, or for years they've just been saying, I should run this as a business. And what happens is they don't have maybe the connections in their social network, friends, family, business associates that connect them to entrepreneur resources. And they end up maybe advancing in their career, going back to their day job, or so part of what we're very interested in is making sure that the people we're working with are very well connected to the entrepreneur community we have here in Kansas City. As you can see, if you look at some of the information from KC SourceLink, there's over 240 organizations around the Kansas City metro that can support entrepreneurship. Then we have necessity entrepreneurs, and there's been some writing about was it opportunity entrepreneurship and necessity entrepreneurship, and it's that you're just trying to find something to pay the bills, and you start a business, and there's a bunch of folks in the community that find themselves in that situation. Side hustle entrepreneurs. Side hustle is a great kind of term of art, and it's kind of what I call it, Usher Garage. But and then informal entrepreneurs. This group of entrepreneurs suffered greatly during the pandemic because the informal nature is that they're running a business, they may be creating jobs, but they haven't, say, taken it to a fully licensed and compliance level where maybe they haven't filed taxes, they haven't registered with the city. And in the pandemic, when the PPP loans came out, loans and grants, documentation they needed to do that. And there was a strong effort in Kansas City to help those folks in the second round of PPP, but they were also kind of in this category. How we're finding entrepreneurs, we came into it with you know, our own ideas of where we're going to find folks that may not yet have access to the internet, may not have the devices they need. Kansas City Gift, the Porterhouse KC, Prospect Business Association, the Toolbox KC is an organization in Wyandotte County, the Housing Authority, Family Conservancy. Those last two we've started working with. Tom Esselman actually suggested the Housing Authority because they're providing internet services in 10 Housing Authority properties around in Wyandotte County and Kansas in the Missouri side. And there I think is where we're really identifying more of the pre-entrepreneurship lever types, because if we're finding you through some of these organizations, the 5 there, then you've already made the decision, like, I'm a business, I want to, like, I think I'm looking at you at Beaumont last year, and or Pauline, I think some of us know for years. At the Housing Authority, it's been interesting just to see, because I have a woman there that I talked to who is a medical assistant, and you know, entrepreneurs are, you get hit with a problem or just something you're not comfortable with in the community, and most people are just like, I just gotta live with it. But the entrepreneur is like, I gotta solve that problem. And her issue was just kind of poorly fitting, uncomfortable scrubs that she and her coworkers were wearing. So she's looking at, you know, how to change that up. And then the Family Conservancy, they're assisting home-based daycare providers and recognizing that they are small business owners. They're helping them with small business tools and training. And then we're finding that a lot of them are maybe in my next slide here. This is one of the three issues we're identifying is just the devices that entrepreneurs in this audience are using. 47% of the people we've talked to are smartphone only. They have internet access through the smartphone, but you're using data plans up, you can do a lot. I mean, with the app world that's out there, and I think Thelma can tell us in a bit here about what she was using. And then it kind of runs into a unreliable laptop or desktop. Some of the folks I've interviewed through Google Meet, as they're logging on, the camera dies, the computer dies, and they end up calling them on the phone to public library computer center. 12%. So a number of folks, they're smartphone only. When they go to the library, use the computers at the library, printers at the libraries, and our libraries are, and they're probably represented here as well, but Mid-Continent Public Library, Kinsey Public Library, very strong support for the entrepreneur community. And then the borrowed laptop, borrowed from my son, borrowed from my dad. They want it back. I don't know, I'm just waiting for them to get it back. And then tablet iPads, Chromebooks. And then the industries or the business sectors, we're not, you know, looking at just one business sector. We're just like, wherever that entrepreneur is, we're going to talk to them to figure out what business sector they're in and who in our entrepreneur community might be the best resource for them to access. I was kind of surprised that I'm not sure why, but that we have some nonprofits, and Pauline can tell you about her journey in the nonprofit world. And then the devices that we're providing are laptops, instead of monitors, desktops. This, I don't know if you emailed me the photo, but I hope I have permission to put this up.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
what-
that's fine.
this is what Thelma shared with me, and I looked at that. She sent me this picture. She said, "Look what happened." And this is really like when I was in the city. This is a better setup than most city employees had in our
So,
and then there's the Affordable Connectivity Program for Internet Services. The qualifying requirements for that program are the same as they are in our program. And I'm finding that 65% of people I'm talking to aren't aware of this benefit that they can receive. It's a $30 a month discount on the internet or phone services, and we're helping them with that. So, D'Mitri, I have a few of your slides up if you want to talk a bit about maybe where the state is in this space. I know you're doing a lot as far as making sure that people have internet and computers, but what you're seeing in your travels around the state with small business.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to. So as I said earlier, right, I'm in charge of the state's digital equity and digital inclusion initiatives. And this is being deployed alongside a pretty ambitious, once in a generation, once in a lifetime effort to make sure that everyone in the state actually has access to high-speed broadband internet. But along with that, something that we've learned historically is that it's not really enough just to have access. So people don't have the capacity to use that access and really use it in a way that allows them to improve their lives. And so alongside that investment, the current investment to connect the entire state, about $1.7 billion. The federal government has also put in a separate tranche of money, a little under $30 million, that we are intended to make sure that every single Missourian has access to three things. We really focus on these three things. One is affordable internet access, because there's no point having high-speed internet in your neighborhood if you can't afford to connect to it. The second one is digital skills, because just like that first one, having internet access without the capacity to use it, and when I say use it, right, I don't mean just YouTube, Facebook, or streaming music in that sense, right? We want people to be able to get online and use the internet in a way that allows them to better their lives. We want elderly Missourians to be able to log into their telehealth appointments. We want younger Missourians to be able to create and ultimately submit an application so that they can get a job that allows them, again, to better their own circumstances. And then finally, the third component of the thing that we want to focus on is devices, because again, having access to these things without a device that lets you connect is ultimately useless, right? And so we're focused on those three things. I can say the thing that makes this possible for us is the Digital Equity Act. And this is, again, like I said, this provides every state with money to focus on those three things. Can we go back one slide? Yeah. So this here is our vision for digital equity. And again, this re-emphasizes what I was just saying, right? Our focus isn't just getting people connected, it's making sure that every Missourian has the capability to be fully active within the digital economy, because the digital economy is the economy of the future. And so, if someone heard, I give that speech at every group I talk to, every presentation I make, but ultimately people wonder, well, how are you going to do that? It's a really ambitious goal. So over the last year, we went out and conducted, I think, a little over 40 site visits across the state, really trying to figure out what the unique needs are of each Missouri community. You know, it has to be community specific. The needs of St. Louis aren't the same as Kansas City, aren't the same as Sedalia, aren't the same as Columbia, right? So we want to go out, figure out the unique needs of each community, and then at the end of that outreach, we proposed our statewide digital opportunity plan. And this is what we believe is the most effective way to deploy the funding that we will receive to accomplish those goals. This is currently out for public comment, and I strongly encourage anyone who's here is invested in these types of issues, please give this QR code a scan, please give our plan a read, and let us know what you think, right? If you think our plan is fully insufficient for the needs of your community, let us know that. I have started to dig into the comments. There are a lot of negative comments, right? There are a lot of people saying, you can improve it this way. This is what we actually need, and you're not addressing that. And while it hurts, you know, it's not what you want to hear, that, you know, all this work went into something that was insufficient. It's still necessary for us to know, because the goal isn't just to, you know, spend this money. It's to spend this money in a targeted way, to spend this money in an effective way, to connect more people, to make sure that more people are capable and are truly achieving their full potential within the digital economy. This will be open for public comment. We released it on the 24th. It will run until November 26th. That is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And so again, I strongly encourage you, please give it a read. It's very long, but you can skip around, go to the parts that seem relevant to you, and any and all comments are greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I just went into the document and just did a search for business or micro enterprise, and it's full of references and feedback from business owners on the survey and taken, and the things that they included in the plan. So yeah, looks like you're definitely being very thorough on that. And having looked at a number of those plans around the country, it's rare, unfortunately, that other state broadband efforts are getting into the entrepreneur support, the small business. Really, you know, for me, it's the economic mobility piece that is going to help folks be successful. So I put this slide up, and it might be a little hard to read, but D'Mitri might help us decipher it, because what interested me was they have this demographic profiles of smartphone only and personal computer tablet respondents. And so it seems like the audience that we're addressing is addressed through this report that we've had from the state.
Yes, so this is targeted, right? There are federal government has designated what are called covered populations, and these are the people who have historically been, you know, disadvantaged, the people who have historically denied opportunities to get online, opportunities to engage with the digital economy. So, like I said, we went out, conducted research, we worked with the University of Missouri, both in Kansas City, St. Louis, as well as University of Missouri Extension, to find out some of that information. So if you look here, you can really see how or why we're targeting these populations, right? So if you look here by income, you see that as income rises, the number of people who, as incomes drop, the number of people who have access to a computer, who have access to internet access correspondingly drops, right? So of people who make, or households that make $100,000 or more a year, only 12% of them are exclusively working on their cell phones. But as we look at our lower income populations, those make less than $35,000 a year, we see that nearly half of them are working with only a smartphone. And something we found out, right, working online, we've seen that a smartphone is ultimately insufficient for the things one, for the capabilities one needs to be fully engaged online. There are so many applications, so many websites that won't load correctly on the internet, or that won't load correctly on a smartphone. So having just a smartphone is insufficient. And I think something that really compounds this problem for me in our office as a whole is to know that so many government websites, in particular government benefit websites, are inaccessible from smartphones only. So we heard Rick talking earlier about the Affordable Connectivity Fund, right? And as far as our office is concerned, the Affordable Connectivity Plan is the greatest tool available at the moment to help low-income households get connected. But I went to an event hosted by a Kansas City organization, Kansas City Digital Drive, just last week, and we had people attempting to log onto the ACP website on their phone, and they couldn't do it. But if low-income households only have a phone, and in order, and you know, the ACP can help them get online, but they can't register for the ACP on their phone, how are they ever going to get online? It's never-ending cycle. And that's ultimately what we're trying to combat, right? So this really just speaks to that, and it breaks it down, as you can see, by household income, age, race and ethnicity, educational attainment, and area where they live, right? So we see this problem is particularly bad in our rural areas, just like it's particularly bad. We know that our ethnic and minority populations in Missouri, suffer from disproportionately, just like our low-income households.
Run a business using home internet by group. So this was another piece of your reporting that just showed you had respondents, a significant number, I guess, of respondents that were talking about how they're using the internet for business, or that they would be using the internet to support a business.
Yeah, so to gather this data, we sent out, I think, 80,000 postcards linking directly to the survey. Again, so we could figure out what households needed. And one thing we saw pretty consistently was that the vast majority of people wished that they could either work from home or start a business that they could run from home. If you look here at the data, you can see that despite nearly 100% of people wishing they could do this, a significantly lower percentage of people actually can, right? So we wanted to present that data so that people can really understand what the scale, the gravity of the problem, as well as our issues, to hopefully combat that one.
That's the last slide I had. So we also just serendipitously have client number 1 and client number 2 in our program. And Pauline, you described, I guess, just like your journey with your business, your journey with us over the last year and a half.
I think my experience was really kind of like putting the cart before the horse. Essentially, my exposure to the whole digital divide issue took place years ago, and it was back when Slide James was made. And at that time, Google was really making a presence, and there was this big report that Google put out that indicated pretty much what those slides were indicating. And we have crises here in Metro Kansas City, particularly in the under-resourced areas. So as a small group of folks who had common interests, we all got together, and they became what we call Connecting for Good, which was the old school PCs for people. And so at that time, I mean, I was really into it. I was like, oh my God, this is really an issue. How very meaningful soon. I mean, I did it myself first, that everyone had, the correct technology. And that was such a big assumption. So what we found out was there was a lot of people who had that mindset. And then once we put it in front of the stakeholders, the people who could make that change, it was like some disbelief. It was kind of like, okay, this too shall pass. No. So in the grassroots mindset, that's how I first got involved with the whole concept of the digital divide. But, so then go back, and that's when I was in the banking industry. I was, in a human resources officer, position, been there for 16, 17 years. And that really gave me a big eye opening because at that time, that's when I realized, how banks were making money. And, you know, unfortunately, it looked as if some of our, folks that were in low income, under-resourced communities were missing out. And by that, they either didn't have technology to double check their balances, so thus they were overdrawing their accounts. There was not enough, you know, resources or ways to connect, because at that time, everything was based on if you had the technology. So being in banking, I do listen to the Monday morning hurrah, you know, sales calls, how a lot of them were making money off of those situations. They were making money because they would give money off of those who had to pay for insufficient fees or whatever other fees that came along. And I just didn't think that was right. So at first, when this whole internet came out, you know, I think folks thought that it was just a social thing, social media, you know, but I can tell you, I got to see the good, the bad, and the fast forward. So post-COVID, I am no longer in the classroom. I made a transition from being in corporate to coming into education, went and got my master's, and I saw that as a result, that gap was getting wider and wider to the youth that I was teaching in the classroom. Post-COVID, no longer in the classroom. I really want to identify how little old me could help those that were misfortunate and had issues with technology, particularly when it came to young people who were getting ready for that post-secondary planning stage. They really didn't have adequate resources. Somebody said, you know, when I say somebody, but those that were on the administrative educational side in the local communities started making enough noise to make it a priority to say that this had to be addressed. So we did start seeing technology going into classrooms, into buildings. We saw focus where corporations were going to recycle their, you know, 90-day-old, you know, nice technology, and they were able to bring back into the community so that it would be utilized. So with that, I went ahead and decided to make an entrepreneurial effort and was able to get back into contact with the folks that I started out old school, and now it's called PCs for People. And I include the ACP in anything that I do with young people, whether it's a scholarship essay workshop or we do a PCT workshop. If we're with college fair, they will always know that I will literally put it in front of them that if we need digital devices, young people, you already know you get a Pell Grant, you want likely you want to qualify. So go over to that desk right there and let that person help you, and then I pass it.
Right. And so with your business, your business specifically, then the technology that we've been able to provide and entrepreneur support, basically, yeah, fill us in on just that.
So how I met Rick, how I met Rick, I just want to tell the truth. Okay, how I met with the Infinite Scholar Fair is a big deal that comes throughout different states in the United States that focuses on college access, maybe into urban communities. And so when it was time for them to come to Kansas City, my business, which by the way is ScholarSmartsKC, we didn't have a way of having communication because we were having it from home. And my mind was like, how am I going to talk to, you know, somebody that's way on the other side of Borough Hall. And, I guess I was in, years, distance, and I said, who knows how to get walkie-talkies? We need walkie-talkies. I have no money. I got a dime. You see what I got? A dime. They say, I knew Rick said, oh, I know somebody that has, walkie-talkies. So he was able to buy some of them. Some people think is, you know, that's not a big deal, but it was a big deal.
It's only first,
You know, we had over 31 colleges that came, they gave over, $1.5 million of on-the-spot scholarships to over 300 students in both Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah.
So those walkie-talkies were helpful.
so you're mentioning that, so I do have to say, so the other part of my work, I work with, Full Moon Productions who run the haunted houses in the West Bottoms. And of course, they've got like 30 walkie-talkies, and so they, Bonnie, I'm like, can I have 5? We named them, credit for that, so it's kind of just how, you know, that's how the works, you know, so everything's going to help. And so with, your business then, so where are you headed and what?
So I was weighing out whether or not I want to go down. Because I was able to, I tell you, to be a successful entrepreneur, I'm learning that you really have to be able to knock on our doors. You can't be shy. You know, you have to call people, you leave a message, and they don't call back. When you send an email, they don't reply. So my mom told me that the wheel that squeaks the loudest gets the order. Tony can vouch for that. If you don't call me in 2 weeks, he knows I'm gonna call him back. And thinking about ScholarSmart, you guys feel free to take that. It does cover, you know, the program that we're talking about today, because I do want to, you know, show that partnerships, collaboration, knowing that it's okay to ask. You know, the Bible says, you know, you have not because you ask not. And that was a hard lesson for me. I didn't learn that till about 20 years ago. I just never looked at, oh my God, I was there to ask, you know? But that is something I learned as far about business journey.
Thank you. Would you share your?
I would just like to say, I agree with you wholeheartedly with that last part. I definitely learned the same thing. I feel that, I didn't have, because I simply didn't know where to go. Or did not ask, or I was too prideful. I didn't want to, like, as an entrepreneur, you feel like you have to know it all. You have to know everything, you don't need anybody, and that's not the case. The best thing that I've learned on this journey was when you just open your mouth and you connect, collab, network with people. I've learned so much on this journey. So I met Rick at last year's Entrepreneurship Week, and I was actually watching a panel as such, and it was a few other people from all different journeys. Yes. And so I was just so amazed at the panelists and their journeys. I actually opened my mouth this one time. And I pulled Rick to the side and I introduced myself. I'm glad I did. And I asked him, did he have any resources for someone like myself that was working for myself? I was working primarily for my cell phone, running a salon business, using the apps to book my clients and such from a phone. Did not have any laptops, didn't have any desktops. It was horrible. I mean, honestly, compared to now, I was provided the equipment, the laptop, the Wi-Fi. So I had the dual monitors. And thanks to Rick, he introduced me to PCs for people. And I was provided all the equipment that I needed. So awesome journey from start to finish. We're not even finished, actually.
No, so everybody in the room and the building understands is that, no, you're the very beginning of the journey, but, and that's what this event is about, just introducing yourself to people, sharing your story, being a little bit vulnerable, but then, you know, everybody is in Kansas City especially very willing to help, and yeah, And so thank you for that. So in the last, so you've made some changes in how you've been providing your services, you know, like where you are now and what.
So when I initially started, I was working.
Hello, sir. Do you want to join us?
I don't, I just want to register, I like I was here.
Okay.
What do you think about the?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you. Meeting is additional. Okay, so key everyone. And Jules. Thank you for talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta tell me a quick story. How do you use the internet to support your business?
I can't even work without it.
Yeah. I'll pay for you. Yeah.
So when I initially, when I initially started, I was working primarily for myself. It was an iPhone, so I think us as millennials, we feel like, oh, I think that's what people tend to think, that we have the iPhones and they do all. And they do not, because as you know, not everything is compatible with the iPhone. So I started off working for myself on Rick, got me the equipment that I needed. Eventually I moved to a suite space that's private. So it's right off of 31st Street, the main KC building, great building. Suites are upstairs. And I'm eventually praying that I can open up a salon space, because I want to definitely motivate young entrepreneurs as well, and connect them with Rick. If they need assistance, and just pay it forward.
So you've also connected with Kansas City Gift.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that? Because part of what I kind of call myself a fractional ESO. And I'm gonna make an introduction and make sure that's meaningful and useful to you. And then we'll check in periodically, but not on the frequency that, say, an organization like Gift, but the capabilities they have to support your ideas.
Correct. So with Rick, if he didn't, basically, he was the person to hold me accountable. So if he didn't have the resources, I love that he provided those to me. And so one of the resources was Kansas City Gift, well, I also love. They have more of your business mentorship, like one-on-one experience. So if you need a business plan, if you actually need a mentor throughout grant writing, all of that for small businesses. So I'm connected with a mentor there who's going to help me make my business plan out, legitimize my business, because I was one of those that when I first started at 17, I didn't pay taxes on it. I was just doing hair, making the money. That was that. So I legitimately embarked on this business venture little last year. So now I'm still growing and trying to still, get the plan written out, the grants for funding. But I'm with Kansas City Gift, and I have a mentor there, so definitely connect with them if there's questions that you don't know business specifically. They're a great resource. They will hold your hand the whole entire time. So yes.
And we received a number of referrals from Kansas City Gift, and we referred a number of entrepreneurs to Kansas City Gift. So it's an example of the collaboration and cooperation we have in the community. So Pauline or Thelma, can you talk about, I guess, how the laptop or desktop, because part of it in our program, we're trying to find out how our entrepreneurs are better off by the technology that they're using. So can you give some examples of what the smartphone didn't enable you to do that you were able to do today?
Well, for me, it was the space, having the monitors to do a lot of things. Your cell phone doesn't have that capability. So that was always stressful, because you're on this little bitty screen and having to, let me call you back on, go online, try to book your appointment.
Phone calls.
Yeah, phone calls, texts, emails, sometimes even, say if someone is having an issue with the website and can you walk me through navigating through your booking site? it was just hard doing it on just one screen. So for me, just having a space and a variety of equipment that was provided made it a lot easier for booking and being able to multitask. That helped me tremendously. And the internet as well, because I didn't have reliable internet. I believe you gave me the hotspot.
Yeah.
Right, ACP.
For people in the ACP program.
That helped.
Some of the components that just raising awareness of that program, we are trying to document. So we're either, when I'm interviewing folks, we have a digital assessment that we're about to launch, but we're asking folks how they're getting their internet services, who their internet provider is, and who their wireless phone provider is, because a lot of folks we're seeing that say, I think it's like maybe you've seen this in your report, like 93% of people will say I have internet access, and then you ask them if they have a computer at home, and I've got another client I work with, and only like 47% have a computer at home. So they're really talking about their internet access being on their phone. So once we determine, like, if you're already with Google Fiber or AT&T or Verizon, then they have sites you can go to and show your qualification, take advantage of that benefit. It's a challenge because the federal funding that was authorized 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I guess, is people look at the math, it might be like later, sometime in this year that funding will expire. There's also an effort to continue that funding because the benefits shown of people having that subsidy, showing the economic benefits, it takes it to the federal government that it is a sustainable program. Aaron or Larissa, do you want to describe maybe where we're headed with the different assessment on the website?
Okay, so I think something that's an important kind of, with LIDO, right, has been this sort of process of unfolding, I think, for us. Like I said, we started off with some assumptions about, some theories that we wanted to go test. And I think you're talking to Pauline, Thelma, the HUD Housing Authority, right? Like all of these sort of eye-opening, really human stories about what it means to really actually really be connected, to your point, right? It's one thing to just like have, maybe your kids, right, are using the internet and say a laptop, but like that doesn't mean you're gonna be on there and be able to do that, right? Like there's just this like whole ecosystem that sort of happens, right? It unfolds. And I think for us, in this journey with launching LIDO and really trying to figure out what's next, like the irony that we've sort of been joking about is that we are launching a digital tool to ask people if they're digitally connected. Now, we're gonna go. It's incredibly lightweight. It's a simple intake form. And it is meant both for our target audience, but also for the partners and the people in the community who are working with these folks who know people who can say, hey, let me just walk you through this assessment really quick, right? Get this thing knocked out. And now you can step into that ecosystem. And I mean, part of when we're going to HUD, for example, we're taking up office hours. I mean, Rick is really saying office hours, right? He's amazing. Yeah, he's the face. But he's the one who's got this, this table, and he's handing out information to really help us start to know and how to find those sort of maybe reluctant or unknown hand raisers, right? So that we can then kind of get them into the ecosystem in a way that other people can utilize the data, right? So the reality is a lot of the government programs, a lot of the city stuff, they need these people's stories, right? They need these entrepreneur stories in a format that isn't necessarily just Rick's notebook, right? And so we're trying to kind of formalize the power and the passion of both the human stories and like Rick's Rolodex and all the cool things that exist in this world, right, into one system. And so where does that bring us to today? So right now you guys can go to lidokc.org and just kind of see where we're at, right? It's very kind of MVP, minimum viable product, right? We're really still rolling it out. We've got some kind of cool plans for the back end to be able to start matching people intentionally with the right resources, knowing who to introduce folks to, but right now you're welcome to go kind of kick the tires and fill out the assessment and see what happens. Learn a little bit more about the program, and yeah, we're working on some projects here and some other areas in which we can also then find ways to amplify funding so we can get other people's eyes, right, on some of these entrepreneurs. Then it opens up the door for them to get into their pipeline, right, in a way that's meaningful. And I think a sort of a larger long-term goal we're really learning is that collaboration of data, right? So it's like, we can learn all we want about this, but if we can't share that in a full way with something that Katie did here, or something like this can do something with, then we only serve people like this far. And so we're really trying to be strategic in how we're collecting that information and being able to share that up, and that's something that we're thinking about today.
That's LIDO.
Yeah, LIDO, I'm sorry, I overtook it, so.
And so if Tom were here, of course, he would be fully boss. Yeah, we had a whole conversation, who remembers that? Who's old enough to remember?
Yeah, I watched the meetings live, I get so.
So, yeah, and that tool has been really useful to us. It helps. Right now, I do a 15 or 30-minute interview with the entrepreneurs we're serving and send information to PCs for people through this assessment that happens on the back end that when the entrepreneur identifies the device they need and the qualification they have to program, then PCs for people can schedule them to come in maybe a little faster than the process we have now. And my phone doesn't blow up all the time.
Right.
You just notice the flyer, it says email or text, right?
Yeah.
And I've had a few buzzing here while we're talking. So, yes.
I just want to add to what you're saying is something that really started, and that is that because of my clients are typically from the urban core, we typically are free reduced lunch recipients. When they register for any type of activity that ScholarSmarts is sponsoring, the registration includes like 4 or 5 questions to determine if they would be a viable candidate for the program. So once I get that, then I can just pass the time and share that information. Now, the other side of the coin is these are young people who are, 16, 17, or ultimately it is up to that adult to make that decision, to make a connection. But at least, I can be put the brand on there. And I'm gonna talk to you about that because I'm promoting when you're home.
So we have
Questions?
questions. Anybody have a couple of old laptops in the basement or the back closet? Do you have an open printers? If you do, or if you're an employer, employers have a life cycle program where every maybe 2 or 3 years you get a new device at the office. They can enter a partnership or a program with PCs for People to donate those devices. And PCs for People has a high level of security. They're certified for the data security and like chain of custody, they call it. And when they pick up devices, they log in the hard drives they receive through their process. They have an incredible facility up in the West Bottoms where they refurbish computers and then repurpose them in the digital inclusion initiatives that we have, including this program. When I was at the city, I helped. We had to do a couple of ordinance changes on disposal of surplus property. We can make it easy to enter the agreement to do that with PCs for People. And so the city now donates thousands of devices, almost it's like any electronic device on board, to PCs for People. So it creates jobs in the community through their location, and it supports digital inclusion efforts. And if it's your computer you have at home, I'll tell you a story. My son bought a MacBook at a garage sale, opened it up, and everything of that person's life is still widely available on that laptop, including some information about their previous employment. So, yeah. So you want to make sure that you're disposing of that. You might see PCs for People does like electronic, when there are larger recycling events around the community. There's also a way to drop off used electronics, but puts them back into the community, and we can reuse those devices. Small business good. But any yes.
I see you guys are helping with providing like equipment So how are you guys building the websites and are you going to your clients? Is that something that this organization is helping you with, or is that something that you're doing?
You're saying, helping build people's, like, the businesses and websites?
Yeah, like,
That's not exactly like our space. I think there are, well, yeah, and it could be, right? This is definitely one of those projects where, there's a lot that we could do. There's probably, there's more than we possibly could do, right? But one of the things that I like to evangelize about is Kansas City is filled with resources, right? So there's probably another resource somewhere in Kansas City that can help a small business owner. We know that Gift can help with, business planning. There's probably somebody that can help you with like, your basic, web presence. And I think that the goal is to figure out how to do that matching.
But then you have KC.
Yeah.
Sure, I think we have our website. I don't think that.
So you're talking about how we're promoting our program?
both of them, you can have them both.
So yeah, our program, we haven't done like wide distribution of it. In the program we're running, the funded for through Kaufman Foundation, our goal is to serve over 100 or right at 100 entrepreneurs in the category. Through the website, this assessment we're about to launch that will make it much easier to expedite people in programs. So we're hoping that the enrollment is gonna ramp up a bit and we will do more to promote that. Right now, we've been promoting it through the entrepreneur support organizations that coming into this, and shout out to Professor Lupino, big fan of design thinking, and I think in the startup community, entrepreneur community, design thinking is out there that you can go into a program with ideas of how you believe this is going to work. That's the empathy stage of design thinking. But then you do the ideation, you do the testing. So this really is the testing of ideation through our program. But now that we're 60, well, probably maybe 80 interviews into this, we're validating a lot of our assumptions, finding that yeah, we're right. And then others were like, oh, we need to go this direction. That's all. The other one, it's why that
We were not right on
Yeah,
some parts of
yeah, where we need to pivot, where we and we are very much listening to the audience that we're serving, the ESOs and the entrepreneurs themselves, so that we're designing a solution that hopefully can be scaled. We are looking at like what this might look like over the next 3 to 5 years. I was surprised, frankly, that more entrepreneur support organizations weren't looking at this problem. Because we know during the pandemic, about every ESO you can name, but all their stuff in virtual trainings and all their created just incredible unlimited services, but didn't really understand who wasn't showing up now, that you weren't offering their services in person. And I have heard stories of people trying to pitch to investors for the presentation on a smartphone and a Zoom. And I mean, that's somebody they've got one of the funds though, if they're that resilient that they can, right? So any other,
Yeah, one of the important observations in the report that D'Mitri looked at in his office was that a lot of people across the state are really concerned about privacy and security with their first engagement. Are you finding that with businesses too that you're dealing with? Do they raise concerns about doing business, but getting more engagement? Or is that less of a concern?
not really, that really hasn't come up. I mean, really what I'm finding is the number, back to the resilience of the entrepreneur group that we're working with, how much they're using TikTok and Instagram and just other apps, and which are really addressing the needs of this community as well. TikTok or with Instagram put a shop or a buy now button, because there's ways you can do these things. Then you hear all the negative aspects of TikTok. Then I'm talking to business owners that are thriving because that tool is available.
So they want to use it in the business part. They get it. You provide some cybersecurity and training portals.
So we're in the referral business in this aspect, and so if people have that need, then we might refer them to an organization to help with that. But,
I think that's one of those evolutions, right? Like, we have to get people on first, you know, and I think like, I mean, some of the folks that we've met, you know, I think just getting them to get an email address, you know, getting them to trust not just the internet, but also the organization itself, right? So whether that's LIDO or Rick or any of that, being able to know that we're gonna take this information and part of like the LIDO strategy, I think is important, is that we have what we call the no strings attached quick win, right? Meaning that like, if so long as you get your paperwork in that like the government requires, right? It's not even us, we will deliver technology to you and then we will work with you to figure the rest of it out.
Yeah.
Right, but I think that that's a really big component of kind of a lot of this work, right? Is that it's easy to show up and be like, hey, can we have more of your information? Can we poll you to death, please, about how you live your life? And then maybe you'll get something at the end. And if that's something that we wanted to do better, right? And so I think that, to your point, right, like, we can get them to talk to us, right? We can just have them talk to us, tell them kind of how their lives are working, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Then we will do the best that we can to get you the thing that you need, and then ideally what we've done is build up halfway for a conversation. Say, hey, you're gonna be taking all my payments, you're gonna be doing X, Y, and Z, you're gonna be collecting customer information. Let's start to have a dialogue about the next step, right?
I think my friend Lynn Grant had a question in the back.
I wanted to commend you all for bringing this information forward. I'm a social worker, but I'm also a small business mentor. So I've gotten a lot of information that I can share, and I'm also a data geek. So I'm glad you guys are giving the data so that you can get even more funding, the data to let people know what the needs are. Thank you for putting the QR code on there, because QR codes are awesome. You know, I was looking for your QR code. I don't right now, you think so. You'll have it next time on your slides.
That looks fine. This is D'Mitri's QR code.
But I'm gonna have your. I was for later. We'll have 6 drawers on there next time. But I really appreciate that, because I'm a social worker, but I do macro social work. So it's systemic things. And so often we see people who are saying, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get a job? And they don't realize that there's those systemic things in place. There's nothing wrong with you. The reason you didn't get that job is because you can't do all this on your phone. So it equips me when I train mental health professionals to let people know that there's nothing wrong with these people, and start letting them know that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not the problem, okay? And so seeing that about the governmental entities that they can't get access to, and some people just give up because they think they're not computer savvy. But no, the system has made it where you can't, but we have people now who can help you navigate that. So there's a mental health component to what you guys are doing. So I want to commend you all. And you know, I wasn't going to go to this workshop, and it pays to be friendly. And Ricky and I met at the coffee station, and we were just like, so you never know in this space who you might meet in the pivot. That's right. So thank you so much. And my savvy brother, yeah.
So with that, that's our time, but I'm sorry.
To one plus area. So we launched effectively a pilot project to test out exactly what we're saying, right? We want to increase affordability, we want to get devices out there, we want to make sure people have technical skills. And we had dozens of applications started, and 20% of those applications were, I think this very much speaks to what you just said. And so if everyone here take one thing away from what I said, I would love for you to read the plan, please do give us commentary. But the main thing to take away from this is my office, the state has $25 million to spend in the next 3 years. And while we can't give that to individuals directly, any organization, and this means literally any organization, nonprofits, libraries, churches, anyone doing the work to help people get online cheaper, help people get devices, help people get digital skills, we want to give you this money. The state cannot keep it. If we draw down money from the federal government and we have it for more than a month, we start to get audited and all kinds of things that we don't want to deal with. We want to get rid of this money. So please apply. Please tell the people you know to apply. If they still are scared, or if you want them to know, if someone needs to know more about it, I have the cards with me and they can reach out to me anytime. I don't want this money. I'll be available next summer, but we're trying to get this.
Yeah,
Yeah.